you came to this idea, are secret societies inherently dangerous because they can do things behind a veil of secrecy? It can be. I mean, most of them, frankly, are innocuous. Nothing really happens. If you knew what the secrets were, they really wouldn't be that interesting. But it is what other purposes those things, and what purpose a group of like-minded people joined together in an atmosphere of specialness and secrecy, what kind of other things can those be turned to? So it can become dangerous, or it can become nothing. It all comes down to the intention.
This is where I think a lot of people start to try and find links, because it's clear that people who are in these societies have trust and have affinity. They're like-minded in their thinking. So if you're a government official, maybe in the CIA, and you're trying to execute an operation, you may turn to someone who you trust from your secret society. And people are looking for the influence and the connection in government institutions as it relates to, have they brought people in, have some of the interests or philosophies or ways of, or objectives of the secret societies propagated into modern day institutions.
Or you create bureaucratic secret societies like the CIA, which, even though a branch of government, functions separately from most of the others. Because remember, what's the whole essence in an intelligence agency? What's everything about? Secrecy. You exist as an agency to protect the secrets of your government and to acquire the secrets of opposing governments. Everything revolves around secrecy. The other thing which is common in that, in intelligence, is deception. The way you do that is you deceive people. You lie. One of the things that I study in my research are secret societies and occultism and spies. Okay, the kind of trifecta of deception. And this is the thing that still amazes me. It's just the amount that people lie. Here's the truth. Human beings lie constantly about everything, often for no particular reason. Okay, we don't like to admit that. That is it. We're lied to all the time. Look at it. We're constantly subjected to advertisements. We're sort of used to that. And in fact, and advertisements are lies. They're never telling you exactly what this product does. They're never being honest away. It is a finessed information which is meant to guide you to a particular thing, which is to buy their product, because to one extent or another, they're lying about what it actually does. We're so inured to advertising that we don't even notice that they're just lies. Again, people that I've looked at and researched, and I said this about one guy that I've been looking at, is that he's always lying except when he's telling the truth. That was the thing that became so surprising about him, is that I got so used to him just lying about things, lying about his resume, lying about everything. Then you find out that, no, wait, here, he actually told the truth about something. That's kind of spooky, because then you've got to figure that, well, every now and then he does tell the truth. And when he tells the truth, it sounds almost exactly like when he's lying. And in fact, what he told the truth about would, on the surface, seem to be more improbable about what he lies about. And you don't know. And because that's the kind of thing that drives my interest in a way. It's just trying to figure out, to eventually be able to parse the truth, the little elements of truth from all of the lies that they're embedded in. That's often what you'll find.
Do these kinds of secret societies, including the CIA, kind of breed lies and breed sort of a tendency to also fabricate, because of this sort of pressure cooker that you're in? I think of a lot of the conspiracy theories, that are so prevalent right now. So much of that comes from, I think they're lying to us, this must be the explanation. Right? I mean, are we sort of creating a system where no one can trust each other? And that's where some of these conspiracy theories are thriving, because we're losing faith in what we previously thought we could trust. And yes, this is a question vaguely about the current administration, which has told us you're being lied to. Don't listen to this reporter. Don't listen to, this news story. Don't listen to this doctor. Truth itself is kind of up for grabs right now. It seems like a perfect breeding ground for more secrecy and more explanations for secrecy.
Well, everybody tells you that you're being lied to. I mean, I just told you you're being lied to. So what's that? But I have no power. So, and you are. I mean, that simple statement is true. You are constantly being lied to about things. But there's another interesting distinction that has to be made between misinformation and its much more insidious sibling, disinformation. Misinformation is a mistake. It's like when somebody stops and asks you for directions and you give them what you think of the directions, and then later you realize that you were wrong. But, with the best of intentions, you were trying. Misinformation is a mistake. Disinformation is never a mistake. It is deliberate. The purpose of disinformation is to usually, as the saying goes, lead the hounds away from the fox. Now, to be good, disinformation, this is the tricky part, must be mostly true.
I'm getting Jeffrey Epstein vibes right now.
Okay, there you go. Disinformation must be mostly true because part of it will check out. This oftentimes we're kind of lazy and we go through and, well, this guy said this and I checked it out and yeah, that was true. At that point, you get lulled into a sense of thinking and you can go through and you can find, well, this is true and this is true and that's true. So there may be, let's say, 10 key data points. 9 of them are true. One of them, a lie. And all the other 9 are just to sell you the validity of the lie, which is actually the product you're being sold and which you will now swallow along with the other ones. And that will lead you off into another. It will divert your attention. It will corrupt your thinking. It will lead the hounds away from the fox. And that's what the whole goal is. And the thing that you must appreciate is that none of that is an accident. Someone has spent a great deal of time and effort putting this all together with the specific purpose of deceiving you.
And that's my childhood. How do you sleep at night? How do you trust anyone? Do you have a partner? Do you have friends? I'm asking you specifically.
I have a wife that I trust as much as I do any human being.
So not at all.
No, that's not, that the odd thing is you would think that by this time I would be totally paranoid. I'm only slightly paranoid. No, I can be even surprise myself in how trusting I can be of people. Look, I corresponded with a guy for years via email, and I knew the fact that he wasn't telling me his real name. Of course, they never do. And my wife would constantly say, I don't understand why you continue to talk with this guy and why you share information with him, and he'll admit this, that he won't tell you his real name. There has to be some reason why he's not telling you his real name, because if you knew it, you'd run away. And I kind of suspected that was sort of true, but nevertheless, I would continue because it was a useful exchange of information, even though I knew that on the other side of it, that this individual was being deliberately or hiding something. But I let them hide. I eventually found out it wasn't nearly as, there was nothing terribly nefarious about it. A little bit, but not too much. This is the thing you have to do when you meet people. You see, you just have to figure out what their intentions are. That can often take a while. So you have to pay attention and not be overly impressed by outward appearances. Okay, here's one of the first things that will put me off or raise my suspicion. Because when people are overly friendly, it does the same with you as well. I mean, people you don't know we like people being friendly, but people can be a little.
Jonathan and I are very suspicious of anyone who's friendly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, why? That usually takes time. Actual friendship between people takes a certain amount of time and trust to develop. Someone who immediately.
Says you. Have you not tried internet dating, Dr. Spence?
No, I've not.
Because within 10 minutes, you can be having sex with someone.
Doesn't mean you trust them.
Doesn't mean you trust them. You trust them enough to exchange body fluids, but that's just this generation.
It all depends what you wanted out of the transaction. So
that's true. That is true.
How does this understanding about lying, deception, where truth is or isn't, relate to how the country and people can understand what's happening in the country now? Because I would say that there's been a level of deception for as long as politics has been around, but now it's harder to form a collective deception because there's more opportunities for everyone has a camera. You can document what's happening on a street. You can share information more easily. So someone who is trying to deceive may have a harder time doing that, even if they're doubling down. What does it mean to know that everyone is lying? But like, we have to have some collective truth as a society, which seems to be getting harder and harder.
Well, you might assume that if everybody has a camera and they're filming everything, then the truth would become more apparent. But I bet that's not true. No.
Doesn't seem to be.
And then, of course, you've also now got artificial intelligence, which is very, very good at doing what?
You can't trust anything.
Mimicking reality. And it's getting better. And it will continue to get better until the point will come, and it will come soon. What you're seeing, you do not know whether that's real, whether that event ever occurred, or whether that is simply the creation of AI.
I saw a pig jumping on a trampoline last night, and I was like, it looks really real, but pigs don't do that, especially with a chicken on their back.
And that's how we judge things. Does it look real? Does it seem like that would happen? In my frame of experience, have I ever seen that before? You don't know. You never have known in terms of what. It's a matter of, from an historian standpoint, one of the things that historians are supposed to do is to figure out what actually happened and then try to explain why it's significant that you should know that. Why does it matter whether or not that happened? And this is what is the tricky part, is say that there's an event which takes place, an historical event. One of the things to keep in mind is that you'll often find that you could get witnesses. It's the whole thing about eyewitness testimony, and what's the least reliable is eyewitness testimony, because you'll get three people who are they're all watching the same thing supposedly, but you will not get exactly the same story from each of them. Why is that? Well, it could be that, remember, whenever anything is happening, we only see half the world behind you. So if you were looking in this direction and someone else was looking behind you and you're at the same event, you're not at the same event. You're not focused on exactly the same thing.
Well, the simulation's not rendering everything. It's only rendering what you can see in your purview.
So beyond the individual impressions, which vary depending upon how much you were attending, and then also how much they change over time, because memory isn't perfect. I've now can say that I watched a movie again recently that I watched 50 years ago. There you go. I saw it and I thought I remembered it, and I watched it and I didn't remember it.
That's the blessing of being older. It's like you're watching it for the first time.
Kind of. Although I somehow it and another film that was similar sort of blended into each other. So see, the memory I had, which was a perfectly good memory, I like that, and I realized was a lie. It was some sort of internal AI creation that I'd created out of these things. So when you go back and you try to find out what is the particular truth about an event, here's the secret. There is no truth. There never was. There never was any kind of single recorded image. There were, if you're lucky, just all of these people that were there who had slightly different interpretations of what happened. One was looking in this direction, one was looking in another, and then later on they forgot most of it and their memories blended together, and that's it. That's what you have to work with. There is no actual hard original truth. There are impressions of what happened, and from those impressions you try to reconstruct as good a picture as you can of what happened. It's never going to be perfect.
I think that's helpful. People think that there's an objective truth and they're trying to find it, but understanding that it's piecemealed like that makes it hard for things that need objective truth, like crime and punishment.
Well, I think that's why if you're going to, in this case of a murder case, you need proof beyond a reasonable doubt. You get in terms reasonable and doubt. But what it means is that if you're not certain, if you've gone through all of this evidence and you've looked at the different testimony and you're still not certain, then you probably shouldn't hang them because you're not entirely certain. If you're absolutely convinced, there is no, again, what that term reasonable means, because we would have slightly different definitions of that, but you want to be as sure as you can. But it's, even in that case, still allowing for an unreasonable doubt, aren't you? There might be a little, a little bit, but it's just not enough to overcome it otherwise. So there's no there when it tries to come down to what was the original, unadulterated, pure truth of the situation, because that never existed outside the fallible framework of human perception and memory. That's it.
Explain the difference for us between a secret society and a cult, and potentially a religion. Like, there seems to be three distinct groups. Religions obviously much more accepted and allowed, cults seemingly the most dangerous, secret societies we've sort of covered a bit.